let's talk about the Celtics. And not to, kind of pour dirt on their grave right now, but they're down 3-2 going into Friday's game against the Knicks. And tremendous performance in Game 5. The Luke Cornett channeling Bill Russell game, like wild to see Luke Cornett go up there. And what do you have, 7-8 blocks to finish that game? Great win in the aftermath of the Jayson Tatum injury, but I don't think it's going to go their way in the rest of this series. So the question then becomes for Boston, what are the ramifications of a Jayson Tatum injury? Because going into this summer, you had to anticipate there were going to be some changes regardless, right? Like, if they had won another championship, would that have justified bringing this entire team back? Maybe you kind of bite down and say, all right, we'll do it one more time. Fine, we'll pay the tax penalty. Maybe that would have meant Sam Hauser gets traded so Baylor Shireman could get his minutes, whatever. But now that they're likely going to be without Jayson Tatum for all of next season, I mean, I saw some of the 8-9 month. I think it's on the long. That's a conservative number to me. Like, I think next season is probably a lost cause for Jayson Tatum.
And by the way, they should be. I mean, Kevin Durant was careful on purpose.
Yes,
right. There was some chatter at the end of his recovery year of like, oh, could he have come back for the playoffs or whatever?
It's insane.
Don't mess with it.
No, because like let's say 9 months. That puts a guy like Tatum back in March. Like, you're going to plug him into like a playoff race and then put him into postseason
where
games.
People are banging
Kevin
around.
Durant tore his Achilles because he had like a calf injury going into the finals.
Yes.
Like,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
So great. So
you're
we're
27 years old.
We're going to assume that the Celtics front office is smart, which they are.
Yeah.
And that kid's not playing for the rest of the year.
So, but the question is, what do you do here? Because I think there's a pretty decent chance that this team gets dismantled in a major way.
You think? Well, here's the question: is Jaylen Brown?
No, I think Jaylen
traded?
Brown stays. I don't think.
So how much dismantling are we talking about?
Well, I think. Look, Al Horford's a free agent. I think had Tatum been healthy, it would have made sense to do a deal with Al Horford for 1 year and an option, whatever. Yeah. But do you bring Al Horford back at almost age 39 onto a team that's not going to win a championship next year? Look, Al Horford's a great player, but even if you sign him to a $10 million per year deal, because of the tax penalties,
right,
it costs like 80. Like it's a huge, huge number. Drew Holiday, still a guy that can be a starter on a championship-driven team. 3 years left on his contract. Do you try to find a taker for him? I think, 2 or more rotation players in the top 7 could be gone from the Celtics next year, and they could use next year as kind of a gap year. Could be a great individual year for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
He could wind up all-NBA first team, which I think part of him, I'm sure he wants Tatum healthy and to win, but I think part of him would love that opportunity to be an alpha on that team. But I think you kind of punt. I think that's a possibility, I guess I would say, that you strip the team down to a degree, you punt on next season, and then in 26, 27, you bring Tatum back and you see what you can do with that group.
Yeah, I mean, look, I always think back to the year David Robinson got hurt for the Spurs, and they went into a bit of a tank.
I would say so.
Got Tim Duncan in the next
tanking works out for the Spurs.
Lottery.
Tanking works out real well for the Spurs.
And there you go. They had David Robinson and Tim Duncan on the next year's team. The lottery has changed, as the draft has changed since then. As we just explained, tanking doesn't work in the same way anymore. And the Celtics just have too much talent on their team to really do that. So then you're not really looking at, okay, how do we tweak it for the draft? You're just basically looking at how do we tweak it as a holding pattern. I would not resign Al Horford. How much does Kristaps Porzingis have left on his?
I got 1 year left. It's an expiring contract next year.
Look.
Not exactly covering himself in glory with whatever the hell's going on with him.
Well, here's the problem. So they made the trade for him, and everyone was like, oh, man, this is an amazing fit. Look at what they do with him. And by the way, when he's healthy, he can be the difference maker for them. It's amazing to watch the way he fits with that team and what he can do for them.
He set the tone in the finals last year.
100%. But a lot of us said at the time, he's not healthy very often. And it's obviously been physical, bones and tendons and ligaments up until now. I don't know what this virus is. You don't know what this virus is. The Celtics clearly do not know what this virus is. The last time they talked about it openly was a few months ago, because now it's the playoffs and we don't talk about such things. But when they did talk about it openly, it was, we don't know.
Yeah.
And if you don't think Boston has some of the best doctors and epidemiologists in the country or in the world,
Maybe
you're
the best in that
crazy,
town.
right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about one of the most advanced medical cities in the world, and nobody can figure out what is wrong with him. And maybe they will. Maybe if he just rests until next season, it's fine. But if he is on a deal that's expiring, you don't have Jayson Tatum, you are talking about if you re-sign him, not only through the questionableness of this virus, but just let's say he gets through it, he's still a guy who is unavailable a chunk of his career. I mean, I wonder what the percentage is on that. I should have looked it up. But what percentage of games has he played versus not?
I mean, a lot of problems with the Knicks that ended with that ACL tear. More ineffectiveness, I would say, in Dallas, though there were injuries.
There were injuries. There were a lot of knick-knack injuries.
Yeah.
There were a lot of stuff.
No, look, I look, this is now the second postseason in a row where he has missed or been ineffective in a chunk of games. The Celtics were able to survive it last year because they had
Jayson Tatum
and the best team in the Eastern Conference by a country mile. This year, not so much. Even before, look, they were going to lose game 4 regardless of the Tatum injury. They were down.
They were down 9 with 3 minutes to go.
They were losing that game.
9 with 3. And by the way, I mean, look at Indiana. You never know who can come back and do what.
I know.
But in general, yes.
They were losing that game. And that part of that was Chris Porzingis' fault for not being right, not getting right, not being healthy, not being able to go.
I mean, he can't. It's not his fault.
Well,
it's
right,
just
but his ineffectiveness is among the reasons this team is in the hole.
His
right
health
now.
is part of the reason this
is
team is in a hole.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the market would be for Porzingis given everything that we just said. I mean, when the Celtics acquired him, they quickly signed him to an extension. I don't think any team that's acquiring him now is giving him an extension based on what we've seen the last couple of years.
Right, but if you just acknowledge that next year is just going to be what it is, and you're going to finish...
You're saying play out, let Porzingis play out his contract, basically.
Or trade him now, because even if his value is very low, it's something.
Yeah.
Get a couple second-round picks for him. Do whatever. If you're not going to re-sign him at the end of the following year, which I'm just not sure. He's going to be older. His health continues to be up and down. Even if he beats this virus, there's something to be said for as great as he was in helping you win that one title. That's all some players do for you. Won a championship with him. That's great. It's okay to move on after that.
Yeah.
And I would explore the market for him this summer, because even if it's not much, it's going to be better than nothing at the end of next season.
Yeah. I think you want to be careful when you get back in contracts. You definitely don't want to take back anything longer.
No.
I think the goal for Boston, or what could be a goal for Boston, I don't want to say what they're going to do because maybe they do something completely different. But what could be a goal is to just create as much financial flexibility going into the summer of 2026 so that you can retool around Brown, a returning Tatum. Pritchard will still be there.
I'd be reluctant to get rid of Drew Holiday.
It's just the number. I think
I know. I get all
his
that.
game is declining a little bit.
I do.
Right?
I see
He's still
it.
a great defensive player. Offensively, he's declining. And I think if you wait a year, his value might decline even further.
I get all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I said reluctant. Not that I wouldn't do it. But he is such a glue guy. He is
he's
such a
the
do all
perfect
the little things guy.
He's the championship guy. You
got-
bring him in, he wins you a
He wins
championship.
you a title.
But that's why he could be incredibly valuable to
Yes.
a
Again,
team
I'm not
out
saying
there.
I wouldn't do it.
How about Dallas?
I would feel
would Dallas
bad
take Drew
doing
Holiday?
it.
You can do a deal. Dallas is going to be looking for a point guard to replace Kyrie for a while. I don't know what they can give you. I don't know what would really help with the Mavericks there. Take Derek Lively in Boston. Not going to give him up.
Spurs trading that pick, by the way?
No. No. I thought perhaps, but no, I don't think they're trading that pick. I think they draft Dylan Harper and
Stay young.
yeah. And
I don't know, though. You brought De'Aaron Fox in.
Dylan Harper. I mean, I was in Chicago for the Combine, and people rave about Dylan Harper.
Oh, I
he is
agree.
an absolute lock to go number 2.
Are you kidding?
Whoever, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
If we had just gone on straight lottery, I know the Wizards front office would have been very happy.
Yes. That's a franchise
Harper.
guy, a potential franchise guy. Can he play with Castle and Fox? I think the Spurs are willing to punt on that and figure it out later and see what they can do with their assets.
Or if you could get Giannis with the number 2 overall
And
pick.
on that note, we will end the show and tease that for the next time because as Giannis turns will be a big part of this
Exactly.
podcast moving forward. Rachel,
Absolutely.
always appreciate it.